Hey, this is Mr. Barr, and this homework assignment goes with the review of the function trinity. Review of the function trinity. And the function trinity is being able to match up an equation with a graph with a table of values, or with points. So here we go. We're going to select all the ordered pairs that satisfy this function. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in a 1 and see if a 7 comes out. If I plug in a 1, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 equals 7. A 7 came out. That one worked. If I plug in a 2, out comes a 12. That one did not work. If I plug in a negative 2, out comes a negative 8. That one did work. If I plug in a negative 3, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, plus 2 is negative 13. That one didn't work because a 10 did not come out. We'll do it again here. Plug in 9, out comes a 13. Did not work. Plug in a negative 4, out comes a negative 13. That one did work. Plug in a negative 10, out comes a negative 25. That one did work. Plug in an 8, out comes an 11. That one did not work because a 21 did not come out. Number 3. Plug in a negative 1, out comes a 1. Did not work. Plug in a negative 1, out comes a 1. Did work. Plug in a 0, out comes a 4. Did work. Plug in a negative 4, out comes a negative 8, did not work. Let's circle those. So that's no, yes, yes, no. So these two are the ones that do work. No, yes, yes, and those are the two that work there. And I think my answer key has already been checked and is good. Number 4, we need to match up this equation with one of these tables. I'm going to start by plugging in a negative 10. If I plug in negative 10, 4 times negative 10 is negative 40, minus 2 is negative 42. That was wrong. I'm glad I'm doing this. 4 times negative 10 is negative 40, minus 2 is negative 42. I don't know where I got a 48 from. Either way, it does not work. That's not the right one. Let's plug in a negative 9. 4 times negative 9 is negative 36, minus 2 is negative 38. That one didn't work because it was telling me 34 should come out. It's not that one. Negative 9, out comes a negative 38. This is the one that works, and I can check it with all those values. And this one does not work because 4 times 1 minus 2 is 2, not 0. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug in the first value and see if it works. All right. If I plug in negative 11, out comes negative 81. Does not work. If I plug in 1, out comes 3. Did not work. If I plug in negative 7, out comes negative 53. That one worked. If I plug in negative 5, out comes negative 39. That did not work. If I plug in negative 4, out comes negative 38. Excuse me, 32. That's good. If I plug in negative 1, it works. 5, it works. 7, it works. 11, it works. So it's D. And again, if I plug in negative 10, 5 times negative 10 is negative 50, minus 4 is negative 54. Did not work. If I plug in negative 10, out comes negative 54. If I plug these guys in, those guys come out. This is the one that works. Select the order pairs that match this. So I'm going to do 3/4 of 4 minus 4. Well, start with this. What's 3 times 4? 12. Divided by 4 is 3. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. That worked. 3 times 8, 24. Divided by 4, 6. Minus 4, 2. Did not work. 3 times negative 4, negative 12. Divided by 4, negative 3. Minus 4, negative 7. Worked. 3 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18. Divided by 4 is some decimal. Minus minus 4. That one's not going to work because it's going to go decimal on me. And that's not a decimal. So 7. You get the same idea here, hopefully. I'm going to plug in 6. I'm going to plug in 6. I'm going to plug in negative. I'm going to see what happens. Plug in 6. Out comes a 3. Doesn't work. Plug in 6. Out comes a 3. Works. Plug in negative 6. Out comes a negative 5. Doesn't work. Plug in a negative 3. Out comes a negative 3. It worked. Same thing. Plug in a 10, out comes an 8. Did not work. Plug in a 10, out comes an 8. Does work. Plug in an 8, out comes a 6.8. Does not work. Plug in a -5, out comes a -1. Does work. Match it up. If I plug in a 1 right here, plug in a 1 to this function and see what comes out. 2 times 1 plus 4 is 6. That did not work. Plug in a 1. 1/2 of 1 is 0.5 plus 4 is 4.5. That one worked. So this is the one that works. If I plug in a 1, out comes a 4.5. If I plug in a 6, let's try that. 1/2 of 6 is 3 plus 4 is 7. Plug in a 6, out comes a 7. Same thing here. If I plug in a 1 to this one, out comes a 17.5. It worked. If I plug a 1 into this one, out comes an 18, which did not work. I've got to plug it in and see that the height comes out. If I plug in the days and out comes the height, it works. Okay, this is number 11. Time for your video surprise. Number 11. It's this guy. What are you going to write down? Am I going to have you write down the word jeans? No. I'm going to have you write down the word Larry. The word is Larry. Write down the word Larry. Number 11, write down the word Larry. Did I do 11 already? I feel like I did 11. 11, Larry. Number 12. Same thing. If I plug in a 1, out comes a 17.5. That does not match. If I plug in a 1, out comes an 18. That does not match. If I plug in a 1, out comes a 16.5. That matches. That's why it's C. That was 12. Answer key. And we are done. Thank you for watching. Bye.